Here for the first part, or didn't watch the first video. Sorry, I thought I could finish the Sour Patch Kid before I started talking. Hit Sparks, that's what we're working on. First video, we went through just a bunch of different games, showed some examples. Talking about some of these concepts. We'll go over them as we actually start creating them, which we're going to do in this video. I'm actually going to stop this real quick because I have a million tabs open and running. Drop that out. Give it a sec. And stuff lined up here. You don't need to have watched the first video, but it might also give you some inspiration. That's sort of the... This is sort of a beginner video, but it's like gonna show some quick implementations in a bunch of different ways. So hopefully it can be helpful for beginners and experienced folk alike. So, generally you want to start with sketches if you have an idea. Our idea here is actual impact effects. I'm looking to really improve the ones I have. The ones I have are really old now. Let's see here. I have these slashes here. I have this swirly thing here, and they're kind of some of these are in screen space, and then some of these are in physical space, so they kind of fall off. And then I have these sort of purple sparks coming out, and they don't show up too well anymore. Whoops, missed. So again, we want the action to get out of the way, but kind of focusing on it. They look pretty dope, but I'd like to improve them. So maybe going through here, we'll get some ideas. So again, start with sketches. It will, with your sketch, once you find a shape or a motion that you like, do a couple sketches. And when I say sketch, I mean stick figures. I think a lot of times when people are sketching, they try and make it a little bit nicer, but you're just trying to get the ideas out there. So I always find it weird when people are like, show us your sketches. And I'm like, you don't want to see it. They're pretty, they're integral, but they're not always that impressive. They just help you get your idea out there. Sketching just lets you flow more from your heart when you're just sort of getting ideas out there. So let's start with the basic one. It's really similar to that Third Strike one. If you've watched our videos before, you've seen this process a lot, so sorry about that. But it can also be helpful. So we'll start with the orb. If you're in Photoshop, you can do soft or you can do hard. It's another thing to consider. Always consider hard blending, soft blending. We have all these different blending modes that you can do with your shader. Even in a nice looking 3D game, using opaque sort of sprite style blending can look really nice. Actually see it more and more recently. I think people are coming around, just in general, that like in God of War and things like that. The new God of War. So start with an orb, drop it in there. Blending options. You can do inner glow. You can do outer glow too. Again, I mentioned this a million times. Outer glow adds opacity, at least by default. So inner glow there. I hope my dog doesn't pop off. Someone just rang the doorbell. School got out yesterday, so roommate's daughter's probably going to start having friends over a bunch. There he goes. You can mess with the size here. It doesn't, sort of changes, I don't know, size is kind of a weird way to say it. Sorry, I had to know where the little one was headed. All right. So that works. I'm going to go ahead and just copy the layer style. Shift new. paste layer style. That works with the soft edge, but it can also help with the hard edged effect here. So you go like that. You know, it's not really showing up. We have a really small there. So make it bigger like that. You can do stroke as well, but I think, you know, inner glow lets you have more control. Stroke is just like for an easy effect. So if you want, you can do stuff like that where you have like this. I wonder if we go more precise. If it'll, yeah. And then from there, you can just soften that edge a little bit. Actually, precise is looking kind of bad there. You can also like do something like this. You know, we have this hard edge here. You can mess with the choke a bit. So you have like this normal hard edge here, and then it's like soft going all the way to the middle. Or of course you can combine effects. So we have soft going all the way in. Bring that opacity way down. Mess with the choke, hoping to, or the range, I guess, to soften it even more. And then throw a stroke on top of it. So you have like a hard and soft edge coming together. Do it inside. And then on the outer glow, maybe even. You know, create even more softness there. It might do you well to maybe, again, this is with the shader that we've used in our other videos. We'll lighten this a little bit. So this dark edge has its own sort of personality there. It'll be, you know, darker, or it'll actually be a different hue depending on our shader. Sorry, I just got a text. Sorry, I'm just like super busy. Weird. I think it's spam. Yeah, that's wacky. Alright, so I'm gonna brighten that a little bit. Deep assets, and I thought I had a new tutorial one, but we'll just put it here. So tutorial orb. So this is more graphical. This is more like what I would have done in Aces Wild. So go ahead and create a new material. Forgot where I put my other ones. Duplicate that one. Call this one tutorial orb spark material. Again, use naming conventions in your names. Gradient map multiply, this is our standard one we normally use. Tutorial orb here. You can see it's a lot more graphical. So we got some weird graphical areas. Oh, we have a secondary map on here. Okay. And if you're not familiar, how this shader works is it looks at the grayscale of the original image and then blends it between these two colors. And there's like a cutoff you can do. And there's intensity and glow and things like that we'll get to. So, you know, we have third strike in mind. Why not just go ahead and go with it? These are the colors that they use. And these green for the second player, if you didn't know that. I've seen it in the files, but I can't think in my head like seeing it in a match. But I mean, I feel like it's gotta be, right? So, third strike. Just do a particle system in this case. Real simple. Depending on how much you want to optimize, you can just do this with a lot less sparks and make them all fly at the screen and sort of make it look at the screen when you do it, or you can just do a ton of sparks. So it's up to you. We'll go to our renderer. Do tutorial over the one we just made. It's somebody else. Oh, there it is. How did I miss that? Oh, it looks a lot like Third Strike. That's funny. Got some sort of blending issues here, so we're going to go to the texture. Clamp it down. No compression. I actually don't want bitmaps either for this. Apply. See, that cleaned up a lot. So, it's looking pretty cool. Those particular effects actually, like from Third Strike, actually sort of have these sort of like chunky sort of particles. They look more like that. See the difference in here? It looks pretty cool. Just another thing to keep in mind. So, this is usually just a quick, you know, again, we'll just use Third Strike's example as our foundation here. Here, right now, we got this going on, but we actually want our shape to just be a sphere. And radius small, we want it to, you know, all start from this one point. Thought we could spherize it. I don't know if that matters too much if you have all the, but, I guess I didn't save that. And now we do our emission, and we just want one burst. So instead of over time, and if you like, again, you can create a little texture if you do it over time, but only do it over like, you know, a short amount of time. So you would like greatly shorten this. And then, all right, the lifetime should show us pretty good. And then like greatly increase the rate. It's hard to show here. I thought there was a way that we could set up better, but we'll just do burst for now. Do one burst. I'm doing like 30. Alrighty, it's looking like Third Strike. Which is kind of cool. Actually kind of want to go back to that. We'll keep it at that for now. It's kind of cool seeing it like that. 30 is kind of a lot. I find that changing the number of particles that come out here, I mean, I don't want to like discourage you from doing things a certain way, but I find it kind of strange. Like, it's nice that it's there. Of course you want just to be able to have something like that, but something with like the amount of particles coming out, I feel you'd want to do like you know, dynamic. You wouldn't want like such a variety of like the impact. I don't know. That's just my opinion, but sorry if I missed the chat at all. I've also changed the settings. I hopefully the video that uploads is a lot nicer. So next thing, you know, we have that standard rule that I talk about a lot: fast in, slow out. So, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. You can see the glow on there. It looks pretty tight. I lost my place there. So we want to greatly increase our speed. You know, they seem to be slowing down, but it's just because they're going out in space. They're not actually slowing. So we actually want this random. Two constants. So now we have a little more variety there. It's already looking more and more like the Third Strike effect. Actually randomize the rotation there. Is it showing up at all? I think that's a little bit different. I think that might be go up to 360, or does it just go up to whatever? So, all right, now we have a little more variation there. And We have a little variety in our size too. Already that's looking pretty tight. That looks a lot like Third Strike, which is pretty cool. Again, what they did is a little more like a cone. And they don't spherize, it goes along the direction. But it's also like, I don't know, because it sort of you'll see some coming out. I don't know if we could simply do it. We might have to do like multiple effects if we want it exactly like that. They sort of favor a direction. And we could do that with forces, I suppose. Looking tight. I love it. That's taking me back. Just love some Third Strike. If you don't love Third Strike, what's wrong with you? So, now, you know, if we're doing our own effect, there's a few things we can do. You know, there's lots of ways to get rid of a spark. Honestly, just letting it fade out, not such a bad idea. Let's actually random between two constants for our lifetime too, so you can see they're fading out at different rates. And when I say fade out, they just, you know, disappear. Grab a drink here real quick. And when I had that start speed in mind, I was thinking about dampening it, but this looks kind of cool. Want to increase the minimum speed there. It's kind of nice having some that just sort of hang out in the middle still, though. Something like that. And when we're fading out, we want to maybe give them a little more time to be alive here, because we're going to be doing more stuff to it. Actually make it lined up, the duration there. Do 1.5. So maybe that already looks pretty tight for you. So we're talking about fading stuff out. We can do a literal fade out. Color over lifetime. And we're going to put another stop here because I don't want it to happen quite so fast. Maybe just add the slightest bit of red so it's a tiny fade out. You may not even be able to notice. And actually, let's do it. For doing that, might as well shift the hue a bit too. And then also do an alpha fade out, so it's actually like fading out. Might think that looks a little weird. I'm thinking that looks a little weird. It's a little too sharp. So we'll just do a steady. Maybe even do this instead. We have pre-multiplied blending, so we have to do, you know, we have to lower our darkness basically to match our opacity, or it'll still be like blending, like opaque. Try some blue instead, or maybe just to yellow. Let's look a little bit cooler. So, again, it's up to you. Oh, I see my problem. It's like I'm going dark and then I'm going light again. I was like, what is going on? I couldn't tell like why it was. So I don't even know if I love that very much. This is kind of nice by itself. It'd be nice to just do a simple fade out, like even just to yellow. Like that. So we're kind of on the right track. It's just not quite there yet. And then along here, shift to red and actually keep the saturation. Not so much. That transition's a little bit sharp. Can change that by going back, going darker. Brighten this one up here. That's okay. Just do orange here. It's just nice to get it to cool off a bunch once we get darker here. If we go into like fuchsia, it can look really cool. Yeah, something like that I think is cooler. And I mentioned the dampening. You can do limit velocity over time. And their way of doing it is so weird. There's a speed limit and then there's a dampening rate. And I don't believe them. They say that it reduces it by 1%. But I'm not sure I believe it. I feel like it's more linear than that. In my own stuff, I multiply the velocity, like scale it. You know, friction style, kind of. You know, multiply it by a value greater than 0 and less than 1, basically. So anyway, make our speed limit here. So then you have more effects like that. And that can look really cool, in my opinion. They're getting dampened a lot, so we may want to like cramp up the speed a lot. So have something more like that. Those are looking pretty cool. And I might actually just jump in the game here and mess with our glow a little bit. That's looking pretty tight, if I do say so myself. You know, real simple effect. You know, again, we just copied Third Strike, but one of the smartest things they did was just not have a simple sphere. They took that same idea, but then just made it, you know, they made it chunky. It makes it seem more like you're like breaking something. And that's pretty dope. So that's a basic effect you'll see a lot. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. And we'll do a similar effect, but we use a different sort of rendering technique that is a default here in Unity. So let's find that material. No, not shader. Gosh darn it. Let's see. Let's call this one Third Strike. This doesn't sound egotistical. We'll call this one Aces Wild because it's the technique I used in mine. Material. Oh, I didn't drop this down. Okay. Go ahead and duplicate that. And we'll just call it 2. And we'll grab that. Actually, we'll duplicate this in Unity. I find it easier to do it this way. Let me open it up. And actually goofed. Let me go back. Just so I have that sphere. Oh no! Okay, I'm not going to save that. I undid my thing that I had done. Cool, got that back. So, tutorial on that 2. We'll do our actual orb here. And here we'll actually use that shader. So now we got the spheres again. Can look kind of cool. But another cool thing to do is to stretch them based on their velocity. So how you do that is by doing stretch billboard. So now you have that. And already that's pretty tight. It's pretty neat. So they're like facing the way that they're going. And there's just a length scale that you can do here. It's not the ideal. Kind of want to do it with your start size. We actually want 3D start size, so we'll check mark that. It's already random between two constants, so we're actually going to normalize this back. And so actually let's start with just constant. So we're just beginning. You can see how they kind of like start back here and then shoot through. That's based on the pivot here. Hopefully 0.5, we don't see that as much. Still kind of get it a little bit because that means it's in the middle. If you do this, then maybe that looks all right. So I have something like this. Even that by itself can look pretty cool. So again, the X, scaling it along there, so they're kind of like moving along that, like they're kind of getting stretched by their own velocity. And then go ahead and make it a little more random. Can we do curves here? Yeah. I think actually what you want to do is just do constants, and then we're going to be animating it over time, and so from there we'll create some variety, because you can randomize it, even though you're like, so even though these are constant here, it'll still be random on the first frame. It'll become clear. So it's probably a good start shape. There's two standard ways you'll see to animate this. One is to keep going with the direction you have. And so that means we're squishing the x-axis a little bit. So as we go, we do that. And again, fast in, slow out. So we do something like that. And so you'll see that a lot. You can actually go a little bit faster here. So that's an effect you'll see a lot. Maybe that's too thin. And so go like this and bring up our maximum thinness like that. And that's pretty cool. From there, we could maybe actually change this to, if we don't want to deal with the curves because they can be kind of annoying, create some variety in the length there. So do like 0.75. And so like we have some different lengths going on. It's getting pretty thin, and so maybe we want to ramp up that. And if we did that, maybe we do need to shrink it a little bit faster. So that'll create more of a motion. Something like that. It's a little bit weird, and you could do it based on the velocity too. I haven't found it to look so hot with I haven't been able to master it in Unity yet. Like I used it in my own things when I had my own particle systems, but so that's not looking so bad. Let's actually duplicate it, keep that one going, and instead of animating it that way, we will, whoops, what size? So we have this instead. We'll go to, we're going back, to the, one of these. Instead of following that shape, we make the shape reflect its velocity. So if it's stretched out when it's going fast, then it should unstretch when it's going slow. And so, just do one of these. And generally, at least what I do, is that you kind of scale it down uniformly as well while you're doing that. So you can see once it becomes non-circular, then it gets a little bit weird, like it's getting squished. It's not really going based on its velocity. You lose that effect. We probably want another key because we want it to happen pretty quick, like that. Thought that would look a little bit nicer. Maybe we're going too fast, so we can actually hold that length for a minute. Yeah, that's looking a little cooler. You know what I mean? So that length sort of hangs out a little bit, and it shoots out, and then it squeezes up based on the velocity. I mean, we make it look like it's based on the velocity. It's not actually dynamic. And from there, like I mentioned, you can actually just scale everything down uniformly. Oops. Please. And so that just is another way to, fade things out, just scale them down to little specks. So we have that going on. Maybe that's okay, but then we have to sort of compensate and scale this down a little bit more so it matches up. Everything seems so tiny now. We can start to maybe scale these up. So you can see like the pace here can look a little bit weird. So taking advantage of that velocity, let's see, where is it? Size by speed. I found it difficult to control in Unity. But if you just line up your values correctly, you can make it look nice. So I kind of wish they started out longer here. So yeah, that looks a lot cooler. Maybe we hold on to that a little too long. So that's looking better. Still a little too long. That tension's kind of nice. It creates like a little bit of a pop. So that's pretty sweet. Simple. Again, you may want to like really ramp up that length in the beginning. Even make it thinner like this. Because this is sort of uniform. This is like a scale factor. It's not like an actual size. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this is still a scale technically, but this is like 100% of 2. And this is actually 200%, but just it's easier to think of it. This is like more like a value, and then this is like a scale. And then it scales down to, 25% of that, of its initial one. So that's how you can create like variation in the beginning, and then scale it down uniformly. But you can also have it between here. So you can have some that are going to get, way thin here. Maybe we don't want too much variation in the width, or maybe you want a lot of variation in the width. Maybe you want them to like get real skinny, some of them. So it's pretty sweet. I'm tempted to just real quick check to see what that looks like with the that other particle. So you can see as it gets squeezed, it's kind of sharp. And maybe that looks dope, Again, just a simple change, but it creates a lot of new character. It's just like that Guilty Gear one where they had, you see that ring a lot, but they squish it a little bit. It gives it a little bit of an edge, a little bit of, wonkiness, but it just makes it look sort of like scribbly almost. It's, it's like, I don't want to sound tacky, it's a little more edgy. It's like, I don't care about, conventions and authority. That may sound silly, like saying it, but those feelings you know, are conveyed in effects and things like that, even like visual effects like that. So, all right, so we did the orb. There's another one you could do with the orb, but I'll wait till we get to this one here. It works a little bit differently. So what do we have here? I have a cross star, a random star. So the cross star you see a lot. Go ahead and again, I'll just duplicate it. I like duplicating it because it's already in Unity, and I can double click on it and I don't have to worry about everything. It duplicates everything already in there, so I don't have to like redo the layers. So we'll keep that the same, at least for now. You can do... There's a lot of different ways to do this. It's just going to be based on your style. So usually do soft. And we'll fix that blending here. And then we stretch it out this way. Change that a little bit. And you rotate it. And that's basically it. See stuff like that. From there, it's up to you. You can, you know, maybe like it if this was a little bit fatter like this. Normally I wouldn't be scaling up and scaling down. You know, you're losing fidelity, getting artifacts and stuff. You have the center that you can mess with, and there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. You just add a blur on top. That looks really nice. You can do one of these. Can then scale that down. Can then add that on top. You can instead, that's what I prefer. And you can do this in engine, or you can do it just here with the sprite, with the particle. There's one of these. And so just, you know, it's just a little bit different. It's similar, but now you have this shape that's really? Kidding me right now? Oh, I have that stroke on, that's why. Just do one of these. Actually pop that outer glow back on there. If we like, now we're going to be on the same layer. You can drop this in to, you know, it creates more of that like star shape. So let me think what would be a good thing to show with this. Let's save that. I'm going to close it and rename it because I call it an orb, but it's more of a cross. I'm going to grab this material and duplicate it. Put a cross on there. Gonna create a quad here. I mean, I guess we can just do it with the particle system. I guess just whatever you prefer. Particle system already has built-in animation, so maybe we'll just do that. Call it cross one. So I wish we could reset everything, and you know what? We can. So let's just remove that and add a new particle system. I still call it? Let's see. These flying off, a bit wacky. Our mission probably just, at least for the idea that I have in mind, is just for the one. You know, these stars you can use for lots of things, like if you want like sparkly things, but we're looking at just like, you know, again, whoops. Impact effects. There's actually a little bit of variation if you make, because it's like 0.01. I think you can make it consistent if you do like edge. No, even then, it's like, I thought there was one effect here where you could make it. I think that's the one. Yeah, because it's not changing too much, if at all. So, so keep the duration long and make the lifetime like 5, so that we have like a little idea of what's happening here. This is already tiny, so let's max particle size. Can change that. Shouldn't matter too much. Let's go to our scale at the top here. Scale it up. And so with these stars, you can do a lot of stuff. Let's change the color a bit for variety's sake. I'm thinking marble. Also sort of gloss over the fact, you know, I have some opaque blending here. The alpha, you know, it's pre-multiplied, so we can do stuff like this. You can see the blend change a bit. Having opacity is your friend, man. Like, again, people are really into having things, you know, blend, but having a little bit of opacity there can give it more of an edge, more of an impact. And when things are blending too much, they'll get washed out. And so, you know, this helps it keep its character. So with the stars, you know, there's one real simple one that looks great. It's real easy. Whoops. And you just shrink it down. But you do it super fast. It's like that. Seems a little silly. Maybe you don't want it to keep fading out there, but it can work really well. That's not great. Like this. Maybe not the best example. This might actually look better with like an orb. Like that. You've probably seen effects like that. It can look really nice. Just keep that in mind. We'll do the old Uniel example where they... So with this particular shader, we actually want to do like something real bright like that. Make it pretty blendy. And then they immediately go like that. Oh, we got to the sound effects collection. We got to change that. Actually, you should keep the... We'll just keep the music on for now. So they do that. Should make it pretty big, so I wonder. I might even hold it for a frame or two, like. I don't think so. I think it's more like this. Thought my camera by default was up in here. Have all our particles going. It's kind of fun. See part of the issue here. That opacity is coming back to prove me wrong. But we can turn it off up here. Still seems a little sharp, like in a bad way. I can make that look a little bit nicer. I have to just be a little more creative with how I animate that. And then with the size over time, you can, instead of changing it so much, do things like that. Of course, we can change the shape a lot. Stuff like that. And like I mentioned earlier, well, I guess it was in the other video, they animate this center part separately. So it's almost like working against us in a way. Having this center part here, instead of like just having the star part. And if you like, this could be 3 separate particles. Of this X, but this just strict X can look pretty nice too. Look a little weird having it. Kind of noticing the stretching. So because we're doing a similar effect, I'm going to show you the effects and some techniques for flashing. So you can do fixed here to let you actually hold the value instead of like blending smoothly through it. Can help a lot with flashing. If you're animating it using the animator, you can also do constant curves, which gives you even more control, so you can have some of your stuff be smooth, some of it animate like this. So you may have seen, people who talk about it. If you watch like GDQ, Games Done Quick, if you have flashing effects that go, opaque to invisible every other frame, it'll either look invisible or it'll look kind of flickery in a bad way, or it'll look like nothing's happening at all, because it's captured at 30 frames per second with the game's running at 60. So one real simple way to get away with that, to avoid that, is to do it based on 3s. So a good technique is to have your initial color, have white, and then a fade out color, and then go invisible. I'm not even seeing the white here. It's a little... Okay, here we go. And it may seem obvious, but you know, it works really well. It's kind of cool how it shows you. I haven't done the fixed blending before. So you have something like that. Looks a little nuts. But again, it's a nice way to combat that. And it is a little bit different. It's like something you might not normally see. Alternatively, is to have a color here. So what I like to do is sort of blend it sort of naturally, meaning, you know, we have like this. So you can already see that's pretty sweet and weird. And you have white, and we go to a warm color, and we go to a cool color, and we flash back up to white. So that way you have this sort of sawtooth. So it's like you have, you know, a vertical rise, just and then like a slope down, and that gives you sort of a sawtooth feel. And if we like, we could just also have that invisible step. It looks a little weird here because I'm not doing it on one sprite. I'm like loading new particles each time. And this is an old technique, but it can look really nice. Not sure how my blending is going to look with my glow. So yeah, it's really intense, but it looks pretty tight in my opinion. Kind of see, and it gives you sort of a flicker effect anyway. Even though we're not really going invisible, we're bouncing between these two colors, and you can see it kind of creates a bounce. Looks nice. I like it. So from there, sometimes I like to do like one of these. I think that can look really nice. You know, with the stars, you just rotate it a little bit. And if we start to get creative, let's take that. So 1.5, let's make it the same duration. Create empty. Excuse me. Can we give me both? Well, they didn't start at the right time. Excuse me, I thought I made this. So already we have something, you know, have this big impact. And then our sparks like follow through with that. Maybe we want those colors to match a little bit. Instead of fading to blue, let's try like some of those same colors. Maybe that's just like a little too big. You can see when you start to blend colors, when they flicker like that, they blend in a different way. And I think that's one of the really cool things about it. Actually wanted to do like at least one loop of the flash. Where you can see how it like flashes and then it fades out, which can be really dope. Like, oh right, we're gonna have to kind of do it manually, I think. Cause I really wish you could do a between. it's a little slow. I may want to tighten all that up. And if we liked, we could lower the sort of intensity of these, or we could actually just animate the intensity itself if we had a separate animator. Kind of like the blue maybe. Check it out in the scene. So you can see that's pretty neat. We have all this different blending. We have the flashing, and then we have like the opaque, or the the glow blending. It gives us a really cool sort of almost like I don't know. It's real popular right now. There has been for almost like 5 or 10 years now. But sort of video artifact sort of stuff. That sort of blending where you see this like CMY. Cyan, magenta, yellow sort of hues being seen a lot, and sort of like visual sort of, artifacts, but they're used as an aesthetic. Anybody? No, that's all right. So recording okay, hopefully. So I double check that. So that's pretty cool. We can dress this up a little bit more. This is going to be real quick. There's nicer ways of doing this, but like a little bit of a ring. There's way better ways to do this. I'm kind of trying something new. That's going to look hideous, I think. It's kind of blending together. So even though I made like that cross sort of thing, if you just had like sort of a flash on there. Excuse me. There we go. So let's do it the right way. And we have some soft blending on the control click here. Select, modify, contract, 5. It's going to be thin, but do that and delete it. Line it up, Control E to blend to the next layer. I have something more like this. Already, it's way more graphical. You can see that's pretty tight. And really graphical looking things like that can can convey game information. Can just look really dope, like if you like that. So that's pretty sweet. So the cross star, random star. Again, the crosses can be perfectly up and down. An angled cross, a cross looks a lot different than an X. They're real similar, but they have like a different feel. So if you have an effect like that, try keeping it maybe just straight up and down, like a plus sign. Just something to experiment with. So we'll do that slash effect. We've all seen this before. Should make a new particle here. I'll do it the way you've probably seen before a lot. And then show you sort of like a next level one. That up. Duplicate this one. that nonsense going on. Avert your eyes. Let's change this a bit. Slash. We do like some warmth, and then some blue, like fading in. Intensity's really high, so it's washing out to white already. That's kind of cool. So you've seen it a million times, but it's real simple. Like I mentioned, it like twisting like that. Is it moving through space a little bit? Start speed 0, white line on me. It's moving for some reason. It's ticking me off. Oh, it's probably because it's rotating and my sprite isn't centered perfectly. So even if it's not centered perfect right now, it won't matter too much. So what's the effect? Well, usually it ends up like this. One of these. And it basically just starts the opposite. And generally you'll see just a random rotation. It looks nice. Again, I still use it. But there's ways to make it extra nice. So we end up like that, but let's actually start like this. We're actually going to start a little fat like that. And then duration, lifetime. It's probably good. We do size over lifetime, separate axes. Delete these out, so there. So our X is going to shrink. Again, fast in, slow out. This is slow out. Slow in. Oh my god. Fast in beginning, slow in the end. Standard animation, and I usually, again, like to do an extra key so it's like really sharp. And then like a smooth, sort of like lingering. And do the same thing with the Y. So we want the Y to get bigger. And you can actually change this, but it gets a little confusing. Again, it's good for these curves down here to think of it as a scale from the base. So we'll just make our base a lot bigger. So generally, this is going to be our max size. Like, where do we want it to end? Maybe right here. But we want it to start. Excuse me. It's not letting me grab it. Here. Again, we want to do that same rate. You can see it's sort of like growing, excuse me. And you'll see a lot of folks sort of do it like that, and it's bad looking. Even like CBS 2 had an effect like that, and it doesn't look great. You want it to happen fast. More like that. It's still a little slow, but oh, we got some weirdness going on. What happened? If we step through, I thought I could. Oh, there it is. That was silly. So right here, this is what our impact frame looks like. Maybe that's not so great. We want that shape to already be like this. So it'd be, if we do this, then it's going to just sort of continue on that motion. So if we do something like this, then we're going to have like the opposite. And maybe that's stronger. I would say normally that is. So, go boom. But that X sort of took its time. So we're going to go back. Dude, this key is in the way. It's annoying. It's like I'm trying to Unity. Holy cow. Wow. Okay, well, I'm just going to do that so it's out of the way. Boom, like that. Again, the X kind of took its time. Something like that. So it's still not great. We can kind of have that pop in the beginning. This looks really bad. Sorry. I'm a better artist, I swear. Looks a little better. I feel like this should be getting a lot bigger if my Y is so much bigger. So that's looking all right. Kind of hate it. I don't know. It just is not working so well. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what else you can do. If you look at Marvel vs. Capcom sprites, go ahead and duplicate this. They have this sort of triangular shape, but it's also sort of off center like this. And what that allows us to do, and theirs is hand animated, so it kind of doesn't matter. You could do this anyway, but with the natural motion of the scaling, we get this. Already looks better. It's kind of hard to see because I went nuts with this Y here. Let's see. May not notice it. Already this looks way better. Partly because of the spray, maybe we could do a little bit better. So let's rotate this a bit. What's happening is as it scales, whenever you have something that's off of, you know, an angle between X or Y, like perfect, you know what I mean? Like straight up and down or straight left and right, is that their shape will change in ways that are, it's hard to explain, but what's happening is, you know, these are sort of pointing like this and like this, but as we scale it, they point more and more up and down. And they're also moving. And so we get this smooth motion of So you can see it sort of twisting even though we're not twisting it. Because that rotation's gone. Like we do a random rotation, but we're not actually rotating anything. It just looks like it because we're squeezing those points in. And it looks dope. It's just a really cool way to create some dynamism in your effect. Again, this pacing is horrible, and maybe that's a testament to, or an example of like why you'll see it a lot because it's easy, but maybe it's hard to like really get it looking sharp. I think really I've kind of hurt myself by having it. Be so different from the beginning. You know how we go like as it goes through, it goes skinny and then back out again. So we might be better off just starting more like this. Back to the first frame. Oh, I guess frame 0, it's not going to have anything. Babysit the little one a little bit again. So that can look good, but really I'm not feeling it. So I think we want to start more like here. So I just want to start over. So first extend our Y. And already you can see that sort of blade shape looks way cooler. You can also just, sorry, I'm going back and forth here. Create a little texture. Again, we have these like blending things going on here. So they can help. So you can cut into it like that. And you get a little texture like that. Just want to show that real quick. Nobody, no, that might be, it's just not showing up. So end here, so we have our playback time. Not too much happening. So I'm trying to think. So probably want to be a little bit fatter. Start like this. Again, you have to like think of your extents when you're doing it this way. Because these are all scaled at 1 to 0. Again, you can like go past it, but it's like it doesn't want you to. So we know our pace for this, at the very least, sort of general sense. Do something more like that. May not be as punchy, but you can do other things to add some punch, but I think that looks better. Maybe start here. And this is where what I meant earlier, when it's like maybe you don't want to start at the logical, quote unquote. Like maybe the logical, what you might think is like you want to start here. The logical start is what I kept trying to say. But really, it's generally going to happen on your impact. So you want your initial impact to be, pretty popping like this. And again, best in, slow out. Maybe we'll bring it down a bit, but then increase that. length. I don't know, it looks pretty good. Still kind of weak. It's looking a little bit better. That's looking a lot better. And we can actually get a little bit more pop. And then what's nice again about this, the shape of the spray is we get some cool shapes happening as it animates. Still don't love this. It's a lot better, but just not. Even that I think looks way nicer. So let's get a little thin there. And you may want to do a similar thing. You know, already sort of have that natural rotation like I mentioned. Because of the shape of the spray. But you may want to just add your own rotation too. It can look nice. It's going the opposite way, so maybe we want to go. And you'd probably want to do a curve, excuse me. That way you can have more of a fall off instead of like a constant spin. So again, it's a little thin. You mostly want these to match. You know what I mean? Sort of the same pace. It's hard, man. It's hard getting that right shape. You even want to just like hold it for a frame and then drop down, you know what I mean? It's hard. Like that. That looks pretty cool. Alright, I like that. It's a little bit weird right here, but holding on to it for a little minute, there, it looks cool. We can also do the flashing. I think the flashing can look really tight on these effects. Kind of wish it's a little fatter here. Too much. Let's grab our colors. It's already flashing, huh? Get a little nuts, try something like this. See, that flashing can look really dope. See, it feels kind of bouncy, like so maybe that lasts a little bit too long, you know, it's gonna depend on what you like, but I've always liked that. So we want this to extend pretty far, but it's looking kind of, yeah. That's kind of cool. That flashing is pretty tight. All these effects is pretty funny seeing all at once. So now, another thing to talk about is, or what I mentioned even, is that maybe it looks good locally by itself, but maybe in the game already I can see that, like, yeah, this could be a lot bigger. At that length, maybe we need it to actually grow out more. Or like that. That's pretty sick in my opinion. Kind of changed the character a lot, but again, you want it to just look good in game. And like I mentioned, again, we can stack all these up. Don't know why I wasn't playing all of them at once. So instead we'll deactivate these. Just check it out in the game. So it's a little wacky. Maybe we want the playback on this one to be, where is it? Simulation speed. Just go a little bit faster so it gets out of the way. Oh, but now the pacing isn't the same. Gotta say, these are looking pretty hot. I won't brag, but load it back up. It looks better all by itself. And we can see that, some of the effects aren't exactly the right size. Maybe that cross, just like getting out of the way faster would be nice. It's not bouncing anymore, unfortunately. Push the Y to get way bigger. Now it's really feeling like Uniel, just such a big impact, and then it sort of lingers. It only wants to play 2 at a time. That's too bad. At least in the simulation here. So with the slash, you may want to change like the timing. It's a good example of. So we go to our mission. If we go into the game. It's pretty sweet. The shape of that star thing is a little bit weird, but if we got rid of that a little bit. Sorry, I'm jumping back and forth. We'll leave some of it on there, but maybe if we not quite looking great, but it's looking pretty neat still. Still weird timing on that slash effect, but what I was saying is that you can go into the emission, you can change out the timing. So now it's kind of like with Breath of the Wild, how they have this like startup hit, and then have this like follow through. And that might actually look pretty sick here. Like even a game like this, like you have that initial impact. That's like this, the big old star shape. And then we hold the hit pause for a bit, and we have some texture here with it flashing and with these other particles flying out. And then maybe the hit pause ends, and then that slash effect comes through, and that'll like accentuate the follow through, like with the character animation. And some of the like longer effects like this can be good in like slower paced games, even like especially like RPGs where it's turn based. You can get away with these like longer sort of lasting things. So there's a way to just universally scale the size. It's got a little too big. So it's looking pretty tight. What do we have next? Slash, half orb. Half orb's a good one. The spike ball isn't that interesting. Can use it similar to the star, and you've seen it before. I mean, it's pretty standard, sort of. I'll have to rename it first. Where it's just, it's probably exactly what you think it is. Few ways you can go about it. You can just give yourself some value here, grab the smudge tool, soft edge, which makes really good. Click here, shift click, click. Actually bring it up to 70. Do different lengths. Different sizes. Even like accentuate some of these other spikes. Sorry, dog went nuts. Someone just knocked at the door. Here, it's starting to look nice. pretty standard sort of comic effect. There's different ways you could go about it. I'm really sorry about the barking. It's these kids, dude, like, sound like an old man, but they just, they'll come by and ring the doorbell all day, even though, like, I tell them they'll be gone for, like, a week even, sometimes. And there's also just this naughty kid in the neighborhood that's just been ringing the doorbell and running away. And he'll come in my house sometimes, it's really ticking me off. Like, if I don't answer right away. So, it's looking pretty cool. Even up like that. A little too much there. Yeah. Can go in even. It looked bad. Start here. Oh, I'm at 80 still. Let's bring it down. That. Give yourself some space going the other way. That's not looking so hot. That first one I did look good. Do a radial blur if you like. Do zoom. Kind of hard to notice, but that can be a nice effect too. I also have like a spike sort of star. It's a similar thing. We'll just duplicate this layer. It's the one I used in Aces Wild. Instead of like doing all that, I mean, you can approach it the same way, but you'll have just some big major shapes. That, and then, give that texture. And I'm shift clicking, that gives you a straight line. Doesn't turn out the best, but it does look good if you really work it for a while. Just a strong shape like that. The other way is to grab this bad bee. Do some spikes and things. It's like main spike shape. Transition to like another shape down here. Give it some texture. Clink, 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 fill her up. Then you have something like that. And maybe we didn't like how this shape turned out, because we don't. Fix that a bit. From there, if you want it more blendy, you can again grab that smudge tool. Start cutting into it. Radial blur that I mentioned, that looks pretty nice. You can even do a Gaussian blur, but it might not give you quite the right motion sort of shape, I guess. That's pretty hot. Maybe I'll do something similar to that for like like a counter hit effect or something. Again, this stuff can look really nice by itself. The last test is to actually do it like in game. I guess. Hit start prefab. Just drop it in here. I'll try and remember, and we'll try and run it in the game, like as we're hitting stuff. Reactivate these. Our third strike effect happening. Across here. These work similarly, with this shape, but you use it like kind of like a background. And so, like, we can actually do it like with this one. Get a pillar out of the way here. I'm going to duplicate this. Move particle system, add particle system. We need to duplicate that. The one. Tutorial star map. And I use green and Aces Wild, which I like. Star. Should duplicate something else. Oh well. Supposed to be our mission. Just do one first. 0. Shape. Is it circle the one that was perfect? I don't understand. Maybe randomize rotations like for 3D rotations, because you can do this. You may not want to randomize this like too much. Kind of depends. You may also want to do like something like that. You may want a simpler shape, because then you're getting, you know, maybe this is a little too busy. So maybe if you had like a simpler one, like this. Actually, let's duplicate that layer, just in case I want to go back easy. Fix that blend real quick. Go. And sometimes you'll get some overlap that maybe doesn't create that dynamic of a shape, but you get some variety. You know, I mentioned sometimes you go dark. We already did something similar to this. Let's actually... It's actually pretty cool. Sort of in the realm, but maybe not. What I'd want for this game, but the effects do look cool. Stuff like that. If we had the darker one, we would want like maybe on this one. I have to deactivate this. Out. So now even do like a 3D size. Have some variety there. Whoops. So I'll just create some variation there. And you do a simple fade out, which can look nice. Something like that. We'll mess with that as it's going. You know, this is more to complement. Oops. We don't want any glow on that. You're gonna have to also do some messing around here for it to work in 3D. Or you could do a base, you know, because you could see it was like drawing in front, which we don't want. Something like that. It's not really showing you why it can be really helpful. You know, it creates contrast as black, right? It's something for the all that other stuff to draw on top of. It's just looking a little messy. We could try just fading it out right away. Maybe even that's nice enough. We could go back to our original plan. We could scale it up. Where are you at? Oh my god. Size. I always think shape in my head, but... I really wish there was just like an overall scalar upper you could have. So you don't really need that 3D start size. It doesn't add much. So now you have this sort of like burst effect happening. You know what I mean? You could do that with, just show you something real quick. I'm going to show you that like you can do particle-y looking things without actually like rendering a bunch of particles. See if this looks good or not. It might look bad, but it's looking a little bit wacky, but you know what I mean? You can get some neat stuff happening. So now you have like just like this burst effect happening. That's not what I had in mind, but that looks pretty tight. Again, maybe that's too much. Maybe instead of having the star, we would just have that instead. So that's pretty cool. Maybe that'd be cool for like an ice effect. Especially with those colors, that looks pretty neat. Just gives you a little bit of extra texture. You know, they animate at a different rate. They animate differently. They're different colors. Just a way to give yourself some variety. But what I think is really important is that even in like big budget games, you'll see this simple thing where you just scale up a quad. You know, it's really old school, but if you do it right, it can be way faster than just having a bunch of particle effects, and it looks just as good. That's a little bit weird. That's pretty neat, you know. And so really, the idea of this past couple of ones is just like to accentuate, do background stuff, add a little bit of texture. Oh man, I forgot like one of the most important ones. We'll get to it. I guess I didn't forget. I was thinking we're getting to the end. Oh, we have the obliques too. Sorry, this video may be a little bit long. Maybe that's bad, but maybe that's good. Like maybe that'll make up for such a long time in having a video. So, obliques. What are those? Let's look up Street Fighter. Alpha. Can we get a hit effect? We have the after effect here. Kind of have it here. These are more like beams or whatever. They're sort of in the same family. It's using sort of square shapes. So we use, round shapes. We use stars. And now what can we do with squares? Here we go. Right here. With these sort of like diamond, like square shapes. So let's try that. Duplicate that. Real oblique. I think oblique's like necessarily the best word for it, but so we'll start with that one, the Street Fighter Alpha looking one. Go like this. Get some stuff off screen so we can scale it right. Rotate. So you're making a diamond basically. You then take this, flatten it a whole bunch. And then from there, you can create a little texture in here. You can create a little texture like this. We'll work with that. It might look like trash, so we'll see. I'll open these back up because it's fun to have them going. So we'll start with that one. It's similar. We're gonna have way less particles. We want a few generally. So duplicate that. Thought I made a material for it. What did I call it? That last one. Just click on the wrong thing when I do that. Oblique. Sorry if no music bums you out. I had a request to not have music, so we'll see. They said it was distracting, which I can understand. I just like having it for me. I feel a little, I don't know, not naked, but like just feels kind of empty sometimes. Just sitting here talking about myself. So where's our newest copy? Is it this one? Got that. And again, it's just by happenstance, this illustrates how you can just have different shapes and look really cool. I use that for my guard break effect. I have some triangles, and I kind of rotate them around. So this is going to be a mix of sort of this effect and the sort of slash effect. You'll see. It's a mix of all the stuff we had going on. This one we want horizontal billboard, or excuse me, stretch billboard, because we want them to face the way they're flying. You'll see here the default is actually this. So it's like left and right. So to fix that, do this. We may need to work up with that shape a little bit. So pivot, we want it 1. Still seem like they're starting like way back here. Oh, we want this 0.5, right? It's X1, forgot. So it's still doing it. This is a little bit weird. Huh. Well, shoot. I don't know. Maybe it's based on it's like their screen space or something and not their like, that wouldn't make sense. But this is where I want to start and this is where I want to finish, so we'll just go with that. And if I scale Y, what? Start size. That's weird. Please stretch out. Exactly right. So that's what we want. I'm going to fix this pivot a little bit still. So yeah, this is almost like just the... It's a little bit weird. So you can see we're getting that Street Fighter Alpha look already. As it stretches out, you may notice that maybe this is a little bit too... steep still. So we may need to shallow it out a bit. Whoops. I knew we did something wrong there. And again, we may need to adjust this as we're working. Yeah, so pretty standard for what you think might happen here. These can be hard to animate correctly. Holding on to this like sort of smear can look a little bad if they hang out too long. I guess we'll just show you. Where is it? Please. So we'll first just do, one of these, keep it pretty standard. Same motion, fast in, slow out. And they're actually animating, like moving, which I thought. Whoops. Oh, so in order to calculate a vector, it needs at least a little bit of speed. So you can see that does not look great. See, it looks like their lifetime is randomized, which you don't want. At least for now, we want it to be. You kind of want it on your impact to be kind of out there already. It's looking a little bit better. You can see how maybe you'd want it to be steeper still, because it's getting kind of pointy as it goes out. And you may want, like, if you're doing something like super nice, you may want to use like a trail renderer or something like that. Some variety in there. Maybe fatten these up. Squeeze them out as they go. But hopefully you can see how this can create a bit of character. Scale that up a bit. That looks bad. Bring this up again. Going on here, they don't look too hot there, but they can look good. You can see them exploding out there. So I was trying to show an example that maybe it looked more like Street Fighter Alpha, but I don't know. Kind of struggling with that, I think, really. Maybe this is all we got. You know, something like that. You can see the motion is a lot different. So we're getting there. It's not great, but just another way to add texture. Just another way to think about animating it. Just another shape. Real similar to that. It's just using beams. And I'm gonna just show you. Got all those particles going. Looks hilarious. That compound one we made looks pretty tight still. Oh, the scaling out didn't save? Or did I fudge up? I guess it didn't. It's kind of annoying. I thought if you updated the particle, or maybe it does, and there's just, I don't know, something bad happened. Like this dude, beat him up a bit. Just seeing all these new effects we're making and see my old ones, it's like, oh, these don't look so hot. Some of them do. I like some of my particles, but okay, just trying to take it slow. So I want to catch the effect. I forget the name of it, or else I would have just, done it normally. But okay, there we go. Right on the frame. So right here, just have some like beams coming out, and as they go, we do some stuff like that. Real similar to these. Instead, it's more like just take a square. Oops, I did that wrong. Draw it out like this. To 100%. You can texture it in different ways. I had a little bit here. It's going to depend on your effect, things like that. Just what you want out of it. You can do like something like this. A little too thick there. And then something like that. So you have these like beam effects. Do stuff like that. Probably gonna want to grow it way less than we are here. And with that particular effect that I showed, actually have it random between two curves here. Whoops. So that some will grow and some will shrink. Is that going to show through okay? Some are growing. Not sure that's showing you. There's a way to do it better than this, but that's basically it. And then you rotate them around. These are really opaque. Those look really bad. Hopefully the example I showed earlier, gives you a better idea. The ones that grow don't look so hot. Really, I don't have them grow too much. I just do something like that. It's a lot more variation in. You get stuff like that. Those look kind of bad, but I was hoping the glow would make it look better. I can actually do like and then from there, if you like, can like this. Give them a little bit more shape. So they're kind of like beaming out. Then as they shrink, there's a little bit more motion. So you can see there. So stuff like that looks pretty dope. And then the last one, we've done it before, like in an old video, but it's an effect you see a lot, so we should obviously show that one. We'll need a special mesh for it. You can check out the old Slash tutorial video or the newer one. It's old now, but artillery ring. Ring text. Actually don't quite know what we want it to look like yet, so I'm gonna just drop some value in here. Actually have the mesh called tutorial ring, which is funny. Drop that in there. I'm gonna have to use an animator for this one. I think there's ways to do it with oh, this is the complex one. Let's just do yeah, this one's perfect. Override our old prefab. Shown how to make this before. I'll just show. Seriously? Oh, I'm using the circle? What's wrong with me? Oh my god, this is going not smoothly. You can just call it FX ring instead of VFX ring now. So wedge, we actually don't need a wedge, we just need a regular one. This one looks a little angled still. We can flatten it though, so just like that. That. We're done with this. This. So this is another effect you've seen a million times, but it looks tight. Go ahead and remove this so we don't mess up that animation. Animation. Create. Tutorial. Bring spark. So basically, we saw it in that Guilty Gear 1. There's lots of different ways. Just having a ring around an effect can look really sharp. But I will do the classic shape that looks dope as heck. Oh, I should have brought it up. It's in Third Strike. You've seen it in a lot of stuff, but if you do like Shinsho Ryuken, Ryu, or Makoto's Seiichi-sen Godanzuki, forgive the pronunciation, it's like this really cool impact. So go ahead, scale this up. This parenting layers is like, so we can animate some stuff, but then still have control over the scale for other things. So this is how big we're going to be in the end. So we kind of want to change that a bit. I mean, that's not necessarily true because we're doing a different animation thing, so we can actually not worry about that too much. Did it load up the new one? I don't know. Anyway, going to go here. And is that gonna work? Oh, we don't have one that's go ahead. Thought I had one that was full on. Maybe that's why I used the sphere. Is this the one that's closed? Well, it's a cylinder. So we don't necessarily have to, but let's go ahead and do it. So I'm gonna actually load this up. Save as a new one. Grab this, scale it in. I have proportional editing on, so I can scale it in and it'll sort of scale these relatively well to correct some of it. Make sure these are actually on 0 exactly. Still a little, because these are all lined up perfectly, right? Yeah. So let's just go ahead and can I get away with this? I think I can. that, that, do that. We should be good. Is that not what I called it? Oh no, I didn't change the actual. Oh, it was right there. Cool. So now we have that. So when we, do our scaling and stuff like that, we can actually have like a circle. Just scale up like that. Get an effect like that. So I sort of gave away the effect, but that's basically it. Let's go ahead and animate it. So right on the impact, we want something like, it's already pretty huge, so let's actually start smaller, because we're gonna, if it's scaled up so much, we're gonna get some blurring with our edge there. Maybe a little bit too much blurring. So right here, go ahead and do record mode. Start maybe right. 4, 5, we'll try that. And then I go all the way to the end, where I want. Let's actually do this. Half a second's probably good. And just do the maximum size that we want. Just want something like that. So the basic effect is that. And it already looks good. It's just a great effect. Go ahead and grab that. We'll do fast in, slow out instead. So maybe it's a little too fast. And maybe overall it's too fast. Maybe I should that got a little steep. A little too much. Part of it's because how the tiling works for this effect. You have diminishing returns, so it's going to be, in the beginning, it's going to be really fast. So that's looking all right. We should also get the rest of the effect in there to make sure we're keeping that in mind. So the other part of it that looks nice is to, we're starting here, going out here, and then we just actually scale it all up. I hate scaling, and there's some ways you can get around it. One of the reasons why scaling is annoying is because you have to keep all these values like uniform, and it's like, ugh. Oh shoot, I'm actually gonna undo that because it looks like my scale wasn't. No, don't record that, please. So anyway, go back here, scale it to where we want it to be. So now we have something like that. And they're going at way different rates, so let's go ahead and make those rates more similar. Still seems a bit weird. So you can see it's a weird like hiccup kind of. We'll try and fix that. It's looking all right. Scale actually goes like a lot higher. This is so annoying sometimes. Excuse me. That's looking alright. We might even break our rule a little bit and start small. So if we do that, then it's kind of, we don't get any of that character. That scaling just seems so slow still. Oh, we'll give it a shot here. I'll look at it in the game. I'll move around. It's still just mad slow. I want the scale to like... Gonna give me a key for each value, hopefully. No, why does it do that? I hate it. So we'll go ahead and go to the dope sheet, go out right here, scale it up a bunch. We'll line up all these. It's a little bit weird, but smooth that out a bit. That looks a lot better. It's maybe a little fast still, but there we go. That's looking pretty dope. And then we can do some easy animations. Can actually make it more sort of dark here. And then bring that intensity down. Then here for the recording, we'll actually up the intensity and bring it down. Again, we use these darker colors and it's going to let us do like some hue shifts and things like that without having to actually animate color. Still a little bright. I guess we could just animate the color. Well, let's not. I want to illustrate that because I think it's important. Same thing. It's looking okay. I feel like it's a little bit weird still. You can see how those all work together. Even if it's by accident there. It can look really cool. Even like right here. It was all by an accident, but it's looking pretty tight. Maybe we can give this a little more texture. There's of course always this option. Just soften this one side. Sort of different look. If you want to increase those edges there. Also, just darken it. So the same intensity, but then we do that hue shift a little bit more. Because again, we have a gradient map shader, so it looks at the value, the black and whiteness of it. You can create some texture if you like. It looks so hot, you can kind of not tell it's anything. You can even get crazier, create like some hard texture. I don't know if these are going to look good or not, but we're going to find out. This looks a little weird. If you maybe instead do like, you're going to do a new layer. I'm going to drop in excuse me. Oh, shoot. Thought I had the brush. I do that a lot. Drop some of these in, change the size. You can do like some size randomness if you wanted, if it's better for you. Control T to stretch them out a bunch. You're kind of missing a bunch now, but I'm actually going to duplicate it for that reason. That, try and get a good spot here. Control click there, delete, do another delete. And it doesn't look so hot, but it's there. And we go over some stuff like that in some other videos, older videos. You can check those out. But, you know, again, by accident, that looks pretty tight. These are super graphical looking, but I hope they give you some examples you might like. You know, I'm liking these. These are pretty cool. Again, the support continues to be awesome. If you want to support me, support these videos, let's just say that, or support me. You know, some people do it for the games I make, some people do it for these videos. Go to patreon.com/culture attack. One of our philosophies is to try and keep stuff free, and then when you can support it if you want, go ahead and do that. Check me out at CAS_kicks on Twitter. I'm there a lot. If you want to check out, you know, development on Citadel Deep here. If you have questions about game development, doing a visual effect, game design, any sort of art stuff, like, please hit me up. Maybe I can help. Maybe some of my friends on there can help. Again, these assets will be made available once I upload it to YouTube. The link will be there. It's always at tylerdoak.com/cultureattack/assets, I think. I'm going to try and start getting their own folders for each thing too. So all these assets will be made available. For some reason, I had an aversion to not putting like the animation files and stuff on there. I don't know why. I mean, it's less stuff to upload, which is nice and keeps it cleaner on the website. But if there's some assets on there you may want to see, like the Unity assets is what I'm getting at, just let me know. Put them up on there. I think that'll do it. I guess I could show one quick thing. I know I just did the closeout, but I just remembered. For doing like a shockwave effect, you can also like, is this the right one? No, it must not be. It's the one we were working on. Oh, I dragged it into the scene. It must be at the top. You can also do things like this. You know, it's a bit of a different effect. Do like shockwave type stuff. Again, like in Aces Wild, have these like shockwave effects that are like expanding outward. And I don't even do any fancy like texture UV scaling. This is just, the UV scaling is how the effect gets thinner as it gets bigger. And that's just like a little bit of extra touch. I mean, it goes a long way. I think it looks sick. But you can get away with not doing that and just... Oh, it's not going to work because it's not scaled up. Let's see. Just doing something like this. The rate's weird because it was dependent on that other effect. But anyway. All right. Thank y'all so much. Sorry it took so long. If you can believe it, I got sick again. Since I caught the flu a few months ago, it'll like creep up every once in a while. It's been weird. So I've been sick a lot. So sorry. I'll try to keep the videos consistent again. Y'all take care and thanks so much.